So I've spent the last few days testing these two TCL tablets back to back. And this one, the NXTPaper 11 Plus, surprised me more than I expected. Now we are going to be taking a look at both of them, but this video is focused on the Plus. And it's not because it's powerful, it's not because the cameras are amazing. There's definitely a lot of room for improvement, but it's because this is actually the first budget tablet that I've used where the screen actually changes how you use it. So let's get into it. So out of the two tablets, this is the casual one. This is the couch tablet, the one that you grab when you want to watch YouTube, scroll Reddit, hand it to your kid if you're one of those people that likes to do that, or just unwind at the end of the day. And later this week, I'm reviewing the productivity-focused version that's made for work and reading, so be sure to subscribe if you want to see how they compare. But today we're going to talk about the Plus and how it felt like a $500 tablet, even though it definitely is not. Now what initially stands out is the NXTPaper display and eye comfort settings that are built into this tablet. It features an 11.5-inch anti-glare NXTPaper display, and I'm going to explain more on what that paper display means in just a little bit, but basically it's designed to filter blue light through the internal hardware. The screen also has a matte finish which helps reduce reflections, and that's really a nice feature to have because when I'm laying in my living room and I've got my lamp on behind me, it doesn't bother me as much because that matte finish just makes it an opaque glare. Now the screen itself goes up to 500 nits of total brightness, which for outdoor usage actually makes it usable. No tablet's going to be really useful in direct sunlight, but if you're out in the sun and you have a little bit of shade, this tablet is plenty bright to be able to actually see it outdoors. And then the display is 120 Hz refresh rate, which when you're swiping back and forth between apps and screens, it does feel pretty smooth. But I will say, because it's not the most powerful tablet in the world, that the lagging between apps and trying to load apps that have been closed for a while can take away from the refresh rate. But whenever you notice the refresh rate, it is pretty buttery smooth, so I will give it that. TCL built into these tablets a really cool feature that allows you to switch between 3 different screen types. You have the regular screen, which is bright, saturated colors. You have what's called a color paper mode, which tones all of the colors down, and it really makes it feel more like you're looking at actual paper, which is much easier on the eyes. And then there's an ink mode, which actually changes everything to just pure black and white. And I will say, after using ink mode and color paper mode for a couple of hours, when you go back to the regular mode, you don't realize how oversaturated everything we look at online is. And this screen does a really good job of color display, and so you really notice how much color you intake on a daily basis. So it's nice to be able to give your eyes a rest and switch back and forth between modes. Now I will say one quick note on the screen is that the matte layer does cause a little darkening when you're looking at sharp angles. So from the side, it's not the best viewing angles, it does get dark, but the glare reduction is absolutely worth it. Now these tablets come with stylus support and an included stylus. It pretty much auto connects. You don't have to worry about Bluetooth connectivity. As soon as you turn it on, it's ready to use on the tablet. It is USB-C rechargeable, and one of the cool things about it is that it's pressure sensitive for line thickness. So what this means is that whenever you're writing with it, and it does feel shockingly close to actually writing on paper, which is pretty cool, the harder you press down, the thicker the line is that you're writing. And the matte screen actually has a little bit of friction to it, which makes the stylus naturally slow down the way that writing with an actual pen would. So it actually gives you a really realistic writing feel whenever you're using it. This is great for signing documents or sketching out ideas, and it felt surprisingly good considering I'm not one to normally go for a stylus, but if you think about if you're holding like a notepad on your arm, you have to lay it down on something to write, but this tablet allows you to write on a surface in your hands while you're standing up, which is kind of a niche use case scenario, but it's just nice to have that feature, and I was a fan of how well it functioned. Now one of the things that's really cool about the Plus is it has a quad speaker setup and DTS audio enhancement, but it was a pleasant listening experience. Most of the time you're not going to be using any type of directional audio, but let's say I was doing something like playing Diablo Immortals, it's nice to have an idea of where the sound is coming from. So if you have an enemy group heading your way while you're gaming, you'll have an idea of which side of the screen they might be coming to you from. But the audio itself does get really loud because of it having these 4 speakers.
Gift ideas under $100. And if you missed last year's guide, I will link that in the description. It's still packed with gifts that hold up.
So when you're consuming media with it, you don't have to worry about it being too quiet, but then the audio quality is there as well. So it is a pleasant listening experience. And because of where the speakers are situated on the device, you can very easily cover them up with your hands and reduce how good the audio actually sounds. And I tested that a couple of times, and I didn't really find that it impacted the audio quality, so you don't have to worry about that while you're holding it. Now inside of this tablet is an 8,000 milliamp hour battery, and it charges via USB-C. Now outside of just using it normally, I did do an hour-long test where I had it at full brightness, full volume, and I just put YouTube videos of the best YouTuber of all time just back to back on there, and I saw that it dropped the battery by 20%. It started at 78%, it ended at 58%, which I wasn't really really impressed with. That translates to about 5 hours of extreme use and about 7 to 8 hours of mixed reality use and maybe 10 hours of light reading or browsing. So it's acceptable, but it's not really a marathon device. And you would think that you would get a little bit more runtime out of that type of battery capacity, so it does eat through your power pretty quick. Now, this tablet features an 8 megapixel front camera and an 8 megapixel rear camera, and then it has dual mic noise cancellation. The cameras are fine. They're not embarrassing, but they're not impressive. I took some photos with them, I took some videos with them. They do a good enough job. But what I will say, what really impressed me about the Plus was actually the internal mic on it. Not just the noise cancellation, but just the quality. I've tested a lot of webcams recently that have built-in mics that are supposed to be pretty good, and none of them actually compared to what this tablet has. So from like a video call perspective, your audience is gonna be able to hear you really well, and here's an example of what it sounds like. Here's a quick mic test for the 11 Plus so you can hear how it sounds from an actual video call perspective. I also think that the lighting looks pretty good from the camera quality on the front-facing camera, and I love the fact that the camera is in the middle of the device. So as I'm talking to the screen right now, it doesn't look like it's off to the side like a lot of other devices have. So let me know in the comments down below how you think the mic quality sounds. Now let's talk about the build quality of this tablet. And one of the things I want to let you know is that I didn't check the price of it until halfway through testing both tablets. I wanted to get a feel for it and try to estimate what I thought it would cost before checking the price. And this is what actually surprised me. So with the rigid body that doesn't flex and how lightweight it is for its size and how good the screen quality actually is, it's a really well-built tablet. It does not feel cheap in the hands. But then when I saw the price, I was actually surprised because it feels a lot more expensive than it actually is. I thought it was going to be anywhere between $500 to $600 maybe, but even when it's not on sale, I think it's actually a pretty good price for what you're getting. And it's crazy to me because a tablet of this size 5 years ago would have cost way more than this for what you're getting. But it just goes to show how far we've come with technology, but you can get pretty good tablets at this price point. The build quality and especially the screen quality are two things that punch way above its weight class. So that causes me to not knock it too hard in some of the areas where I think that it can improve, because if this was a $1,000 tablet, then there would be a lot to say. But at this price point, the things that I'm not a big fan of don't quite hurt as badly. There is lag. It's not severe, but it's noticeable in animation heavy pages. And what I found with these tablets is that they tend to turn off background apps. So when you go back to an app that's still open, it does have to reopen the app, even though it looks like it was already open. So there's a little bit of waiting for that app to reload. And in my mind, what this does is it allows it to run more efficiently with the app that you're using. So multitasking can bog it down a little bit. I think overall, Android tablets are still Android tablets. They're going to have different quirks and less smoothness overall, but a ton more customization built into them. So the NXTPaper 11 Plus by TCL, it's not trying to be a powerhouse tablet. It's a comfort tablet. It's the one that you grab for YouTube, reading, email, games, and relaxing. It does some really cool things like the NXTPaper mode, which genuinely makes the screen feel different and more easy on the eyes, depending on what you're doing. And the stylus makes writing feel way closer to a real notebook than other tablets in this price range. It's not perfect, but it's not designed to be. It's a budget tablet. That's exactly what it is. But for what it costs, it does punch above its weight class. So I would say it's a great tablet if you want one that's a jack of all trades, but a master of none. It does a lot of things pretty well, but it's not going to blow you away in any of the categories. But for a general entertainment tablet, I think it does the job pretty well. But if you want something that's more productivity focused, more reading focused, or just more focused on creation, definitely subscribe, because later this week I'm going to be reviewing the cheaper alternative, which is the NP11 Gen 2 by TCL that ended up being the work version of this tablet, which I know that sounds strange. The cheaper tablet is the work version, but we'll get into it in that video. I appreciate you watching today. I hope you will subscribe and join the Freaky Tech family. We're growing like crazy right now, and I'd love for you to be a part of the journey. But thank you so much for watching today. Again, I'm Corey with Freaky Tech Reviews. I'll see you next time. Real quick before you go, YouTube thinks that you might like this video right here, so be sure to check it out and continue exploring the Freaky Tech Reviews channel.